Nams to everyone. Hare Krishna. Today is Saturday, the 11th of May, 2024, and we're broadcasting out of Surabhi Kunj in Goradam, Jaiva Dharma, chapter 17. So we'll have a kirtan and then we'll continue. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Jira Vanachari Yamuna Jira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Ujaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Haribo, Gaura Haribo. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhi, Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhi, Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Kiridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Brisha Bhavanandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sabhaboma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudiya Acharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Siromani Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shivata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bharadasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikahol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautramdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritujip Janadvip Motandvip Rudradvip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwarasavadvapnika Shri Braja Mandal Ki Jai. Shri Radhakund, Shamakund, Jamuna Devi, Ganga Devi, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketra Mandal Ki Jai. Sarva Vigna Vinasakari Shri Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Bhakta Ki Jai, Jai Chari Dham Ki Jai, Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai, Chari Achari Ki Jai, Akar Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gauda Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swabila Sarupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundaratu Dikatamba Satipita Sadahridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyamapeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabo Benidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Shiptascha Karmadita Rangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prabhana Brinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Vaja Miradam Aravinda Netram Smara Miradam Madhurashmitasyam Vada Miradam Karuna Bharatram Tato Mamanastikatina Kapi Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I first of all offer millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasarashishi Mad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our most beloved, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasarashishi Mad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to our dear most Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidanandanamane Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavrayate Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. And all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Papnebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So continuing our Jaiva Dharma reading and study. So we're into the Falshruti on page 830. The next 5 verses. Jade Dvaita Jnana Hoya Chita Upadaya Krishna Bhakti Chiradina Upaya Upai. Such knowledge, which is solely related to the duality of this dull material world, is fit to be rejected, whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, should be accepted forever within one's heart, both as the upaya, means of attainment, and the upayi, the goal worthy of attainment. So very simple. Become detached from this mayic, illusory material world and become attached to the transcendental, glorious spiritual reality. So this is simply um, our entire philosophy, in fact. Jiva kabu jadanai, hari kabu nai, hari saha jiva chintya beda beda mai. The jiva is not a product of dull matter, nor is he Kevaladvaita, absolutely one in all ways with Sri Hari. Yes, neither one nor the other. The jiva is inconceivably different and non-different from Hari. This is what makes the conception of pure love conceivable. If we were the same as Krishna, how could that loving connection manifest? But because we are intrinsically different, and at the same time we have the particle of that chit shakti is there, but because of this distinction, then the jiva can generate, we can say, he can become attracted to Krishna. Therefore, the loving propensity can manifest. Without two distinct souls, how can love manifest? If the jiva was one with Krishna, where would the idea of love manifest? We said many times that there's no sambandha within the Brahmajyoti because there's only one, just the jiva, that consciousness. So two has to be there, Krishna and the jiva, for that prem, that nitya prem to manifest. Deha kabo jivanai, dara bhogyanai, dasa bhogya jiva Krishna Prabhu bhakta hai. The material body should never be considered to be the jiva, and this earth is not for the jiva to exploit and enjoy. Don't try and find a home in this material world. Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj quotes from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, actually. He's saying, we are foreigners in a foreign land. This is not our home. Don't try to make a comfortable place here for our sojourn at this time. Simply try to please the Lord, one way or another. The Jiva's Swarup is Krishna Das, and thus he is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. Yes, if we consider from this perspective, always looking how can I be bringing pleasure to Krishna? This will bring the greatest joy, that Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, in the heart of the Jiva. Whereas Sri Krishna's Swarup is Prabhu Master and Bhakta, enjoyer. Very simple. These are just the basic precepts of our journey. Jaiva dharma nahiyache deha dharma kata nahiyache jiva gyan mayavada prata. This book entitled Jaiva Dharma neither discusses matters related to the dead material body, nor does it propound the Mayavada doctrine of the jiva's oneness with Brahm. So very clear. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making this so clear for us. Jiva nitya dharma bhakti tahe jadanai, shuddha jiva prema seva phala payatai. The jiva's nitya dharma is bhakti, devoid of material motivation. If we have any type of material motivation for fame, adoration, distinction, etc., these are the subtle sex desires, it's described, these three subtle desires: fame, adoration, and distinction. Prabodhananda Saraswati, he quotes, "What man in the three worlds is not attracted to women? And those men who are not attracted to women are attracted to fame, adoration, and distinction." And then he says, "O wise sadhak, just realize the fortune that lies in your hand and run to Sri Vrindavan and give up all desires for attachment to any sensual pleasures or any subtle or gross pleasures in this material world." And we've explained many times how the jiva by nature has to enjoy. If he's not enjoying his journey towards Krishna, then he's definitely going to be looking in the Mayic world for pleasure. The jiva, purified by seva, attains the fruit of that seva in the form of prem. Yes, we perform this pure apratihata, this pure seva to the Lord. We say this beautiful verse, Savai pumsam baro dharma, yato bhakti at hogsaje. Ahoitiki apratihata, this ahoitiki, this unmotivated and uninterrupted service to the Lord is going to bring suprasidity, satisfaction to the soul. That means I'm connected. My Swarup is connected in seva to Krishna. So we've been discussing through these 3 chapters of Jiva Tattva how liberation is liberation from matter, liberation from these material miseries. But that is only the beginning of the journey. And if we remain on that step, it's like going on different steps. If we just remain in that step of liberation, then we haven't concluded the journey at all. Because what happens after liberation is the main consideration. After liberation, when the soul is liberated from matter, then the soul, by the mercy of Guru, wakens up to his constitutional identity. His Staibhav is manifested. And then he begins to serve directly the Lord in his Swarup, in his Vastu city, in his Swarup, when leaving the body. So this is the journey of the soul, we can say. We are looking to get freed from the attachment to this world, which brings nothing but suffering, and to become attached to our service to Krishna in the spiritual. And it begins here. We begin by serving Guru, Sadhu, and the Vaishnavas wherever we can, because this is a representation of Krishna in this world. We serve Thakurji, we serve Mahaprasadam, we serve Harinam, we serve the Granthas, the Shastras, we serve so many objects related to Krishna. This is all inspiring our seva towards Krishna. Now we're serving Jaiva Dharma under the guidance of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So yesterday Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying very conclusively that the way to become liberated from Maya is to come in contact with the Shuddha Bhaktas. So here he's stressing greatly this sadhu sangha. So now we'll continue with this mood that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is opening out here. So halfway down page 389, or just at the beginning of 389, where Brajanath asks this question, is where we reached yesterday. I'll just refresh and read from the beginning of 389 what Babaji answered yesterday. Baba, since time without beginning, the Jiva who is eternally bound by Maya has been moving in the universe, taking birth according to his karma, sometimes as a deva and sometimes in various animal species. From the time that he attains the association of saintly people, because of his past pious activities, Sukriti, he fixes his mind very strongly on Krishna, the controller of all. So, due to his Sukriti. Now, Brajanath is going to ask about this. Brajanath, you have said that the association of Sudha Bhaktas is achieved by Sukriti. What is Sukriti? Is it karma or knowledge? Babaji, the Shastras say that there are two types of auspicious karma, Shubha karma. Shubha means auspicious, that are in accordance with Vedic injunctions. One causes the appearance of bhakti, while the other gives irrelevant, inferior results. For example, if you do charity, not to a Vaishnava or saintly person, you're going to accrue some material credits. And with those material credits, you'll experience some material happiness, which actually ultimately will bind you more to this material world. So it's not in our interest to perform materially um, motivated or materially directed good activities. At the same time, the devotee is naturally inclined towards goodness. So he will be doing those same activities, but within a mood of serving Krishna. Everything will be in his interest. But if I'm just performing charitable acts, like many times we see very wealthy people, they'll perform various charitable acts, giving blankets out in wintertime for the cold people, giving food distribution. So they're actually only doing it for their own um, uh, well, not for their own glorification, but for their own um, increasing their own financial situation. They're hoping to get this material punya to increase their already um, established wealth. That's why they're doing it. So this is not at all encouraged. One causes the appearance of bhakti, while the other gives irrelevant, inferior results. That's what I've just described. Performance of pious activities such as nitya and naimitic dharma, studying sankhya, and cultivating jnana all give irrelevant results. I'll read that again. Performance of pious activities such as nitya and naimitic karma, studying sankhya, and cultivating jnana all give irrelevant results. The only auspicious activities that give bhakti as an end result, bhakti pada sukriti, are associating with Shuddha bhaktas and with places, times, and things that bestow bhakti. The devotee should endeavor to spend his whole life in an atmosphere of having opportunities to serve the Supreme Lord and the Vaishnavas and the Holy Dham and the Granthas, etc., that I've just described, Mahaprasad, the holy name, the Murti. When enough bhakti pada sukriti has been accumulated, it gives rise to Krishna bhakti. The other types of sukriti, however, is consumed after one enjoys its results. Yes, very clear. When you perform those punya activities, then you immediately get some result in the form of some pious credits. And once you consume those, then it's gone, it's finished. We can accrue pious credits to go to Swagaloka, but even there, you have to return back here. So all of these pious acts, if they're not under guidance of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, just they're concocted out of our minds, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. It's not necessarily, the result will not necessarily be bhakti. All the pious deeds in the world, such as charity, only result in achieving the objects of sense gratification. Be very clear on this. I'll say it again. All the pious deeds in the world, such as charity, only result in achieving the objects of sense gratification. The sukriti of impersonal speculation results in impersonal liberation. Neither of these kinds of sukriti can give devotional service to Sri Bhagavan. So devotees have to be very clear on this, because devotees often have soft hearts and they want to assist and give people so many things. But if it's not in the direction of bhakti, if it's not under guidance, then it can be totally fruitless without any real benefit to the practitioner at all. Just giving charity doesn't reap proper results. At the same time, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was once asked, should we give money to beggars? And he said, what is the harm if you have a few coins? It's helpful to be in a mood of giving. It's helpful to be in a mood of munificence to the conditioned souls. You're not doing it to increase your bhakti. You're just performing some dharmic act, which is not condemned. At the same time, if we make a habit of it, distributing big amounts of wealth to poor people, that's going to entangle us in that person's karma. Also, if you give, say, 100 rupees to a street beggar and he goes and buys biddies and some alcohol or something, you're going to be implicated somehow in the karmic reaction for that. So, but if a few coins for some rice or something for his belly is not going to be so harmful. So we have to be balancing here.
So if one knows that a certain beggar is known for receiving donations and
Abusing them,
abusing it, if one knows about that,
then don't give him.
they just give him less. They
Give him,
5 rupee
yeah,
instead of 100.
yes, give him less, yes.
Yeah.
We have to understand the heart of this, the mood of this. Activities such as sadhu sangha and observing Ekadashi, Janmastami, Gaur Purnima all help to develop one's saintly qualities. These activities are what the devotees engage themselves in constantly. We follow Ekadashi, we endeavor to live in the holy dhams, visit the holy dhams, we celebrate Janmastami, Gaur Purnima, etc. Tulsi, Mahaprasad, Sri Mandir, holy places, and articles used by sadhus, sadhu vastu, are all auspicious. Touching them or obtaining their darshan are pious deeds that give rise to bhakti. Because I'm always wanting to associate with that current of bhakti and anything that is associated with bhakti, like worshipping Tulsi Devi, for example, honoring Mahaprasad. This is all associated with bhakti. So we have to know the distinction between material, pious acts and spiritually motivated pious acts. There's a huge difference. Prajanath, can a person obtain bhakti if he is tormented by material problems and take shelter of Sri Hari's lotus feet in full knowledge to become relieved of his problems? So this is a good question. I mean, most devotees come to devotional service because materially they're suffering, because materially they're not satisfied, or they want liberation, moksha. These two reasons. Babaji, the jiva, harassed by the afflictions of the goddess of illusion, may somehow understand through discriminating intelligence that worldly activities are simply troublesome, and that his only solace is Krishna's lotus feet and the feet of Shuddha Bhaktas. Knowing this, he takes shelter of his lotus feet. And the first step in this process of surrender is to accept the shelter of Shuddha Bhaktas. Again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is really stressing this point. This is the principle, Bhakti Prada Sukriti, through which he obtains the lotus feet of Bhagavan. Whatever renunciation and wisdom he had originally were just a secondary means of attaining bhakti. Whatever credits we think we have in this material world are simply secondary when we come in contact with the pure Vaishnavas. Thus, the association of bhaktas is the only way to attain bhakti. There is no other recourse. There is no other way. It's so clear. Bhakti Thakur, he's repeating it again and again. I can remember personally when I first came to meet the devotees practically for the first time, I sat in a temple with one particular individual in front of the deities, and he was inquiring about my past, etc. And I began to more or less like show off to him what I had done in my life. I had done this traveling and been here and been there. And he just looked at me and said, I did all that in my last life, and completely shut me up. And then I was able to sit quietly and for the next 2 hours just listen to him speaking something completely that I'd never even heard of. So, this is the process. We come out of this material, bewildering world. And if we have the fortune to meet a sadhu or meet a devotee who is enlightened to some degree, even to some degree, then he's able to purify our past attachments and then develop the greed for our future prospects of becoming a servant of that Supreme Lord. So, this is the simple process. um, Brajanath, if karma, gyan, renunciation, and discrimination are secondary ways of achieving bhakti, what is the objection to calling them bhakti pada sukriti? So, karma, gyan, renunciation, discrimination can be considered secondary. So, he's asking, why can't these also be called in the same category as bhakti pada sukriti? Babaji is strongly responding. There is a strong objection. They bind one to inferior temporary results. You will get the results of your karma. You will get the results of your renunciation. This will tighten the shackles for our material sojourn here in this world. If we're doing just pious activities, not under guidance, not fully focused on Krishna. The performance of karma has no permanent result, but it binds the jivas to the objects of sense gratification. One of the objects of sense gratification is being happy. If I'm happy distributing, for example, charitable uh, acts and giving to poor people and so on. If I'm, it's like the Christian idea. They go to um, deprived countries like Africa or something, and they think they are doing God's work by helping the poor people. They don't have an appreciation that God Himself can help these people, that they're suffering in that poor condition due to their karma. This is why they're in that condition. If a man, for example, is born in a desert without water, that's indicative of his previous life. Yam yam vapi smarambhavam tyajati antikalevaram. Whatever you think about at the time of death, that will be the body that you will inhabit in your next birth. So if someone is born into a very low caste, deprived family, that's a direct result of his previous activities. But that doesn't limit him to coming to devotional service. But if I'm just feeling sorry for his material condition and trying to give him money and benefit like that, that's not going to increase my bhakti pada sukriti. Actually, the opposite. It'll increase some punya, some karmic credits will come, and those will bind me because there's shubha karma. Shubha karma is the good results of karma that will bind. It's like the gopis, for example. It's described they worshipped um, uh, Katyani, and it's described that they had to burn up. They had some Shubha karma left, which actually had to be incinerated. Their good credits had to be also burnt. So those are not um, uh, conducive for bhakti. Understand it very clearly. There's a huge distinction between charitable acts in this world and bhakti pada sukriti. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is emphasizing here. Renunciation and empirical knowledge can only lead the jiva as far as knowledge of Brahm. And if we go to that place of Brahm, this means like moksha. And this conception of an impersonal supreme principle prevents him from attaining Bhagavan's lotus feet. If you're running around the planet doing so many good deeds for good people, but you're not really focusing on the ultimate goal of direct service to Krishna, it's going to bind us in the material world rather than liberate us. Consequently, these cannot be called bhakti pada sukriti. It is true that they sometimes take one to bhakti, but that is not the usual course of events. Sadhu Sangha, on the other hand, definitely does not award any secondary benefit, but forcibly brings the jiva towards prem. And we remember, of course, the brilliant example in the very beginning of this Jaiva Dharma in the first chapter, where Sannyasi Thakur, he sees that Vaishnava dancing, and that is his association. He sees from that, he sees the bliss of that Vaishnava and realizes that he wants to follow this path. So this is association. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is showing this association in the first chapter. Sannyasi Thakur, he starts to search for the Vaishnavas after seeing that one ecstatic Vaishnava dancing. And then eventually his search leads him to Godrundu and he meets Premdas, etc. It is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. Satam prasangam mama vira samvido bhavanti hritkana rasanaya katha tajno sav apavarago vartmani shraddha rati bhakti anukramishyati. In the association of Shuddha Bhaktas, this is spoken by Kapila Dev to his mother Devahuti. In association of Shuddha Bhaktas, the recitation and discussion of my glorious activities and pastimes are pleasing to both the heart and the ears. By cultivating knowledge in this way, one becomes established on the path of liberation and progressively attains Shraddha, then Bhav, and finally Prema Bhakti. This is the path. This Shraddha, Rati, Bhakti, Anukramishyati. This is the progression. Shraddha first, then Bhav, and finally Prema Bhakti. Brajanath, I understand that Sadhu Sangha is the only Sukriti that gives rise to Bhakti. One has to listen to Harikatha from the mouths of sadhus, and thereafter one obtains Bhakti. Is this the proper sequence to progress in Bhakti? Babaji, I will explain the proper way of progressing in bhakti. Listen attentively. Only by good fortune does the jiva who is wandering throughout the universe achieve the sukriti that gives rise to bhakti. One of the many limbs of pure bhakti may touch a jiva's life. For example, he may fast on Ekadashi, touch or visit the holy places of Bhagavan's pastimes, serve a guest who happens to be a Shuddha Bhakta, or have the chance to hear Hari Nam or Hari Katha from the lotus mouth of an Akinchana Bhakta. If someone desires material benefits or impersonal liberation from such activities, the resultant Sukriti does not lead to devotional service. If someone tries to take advantage of his apparent good karma in a material sense, acquire more money, play so many different desires fulfilled, it's not going to lead to bhakti. However, if an innocent person performs any of these activities, either unknowingly or out of habit, agata sukriti is called unknowingly, without desiring material sense gratification or impersonal liberation, these activities lead to the accumulation of bhakti pada sukriti. So it's very rare that this bhakti pada sukriti will be ignited in the heart of the jiva. After accumulating such sukriti for many births, it becomes concentrated enough to give faith in pure bhakti. And when faith in bhakti is undivided, one develops a desire to associate with Shuddha Bhaktas. So we see that all the different devotees that we know, whatever level they're on, are just amazing personalities because they have actually come to this path of bhakti. Whether they can follow it carefully or not carefully, they have still, in their previous births, etc., acquired sufficient sukriti to come to this path. So there are millions of, we can say, younger devotees who have come into this path, and older devotees, of course. But I'm just talking about the general inflow of devotees. This is indicative of many lifetimes of acquiring this bhakti pada sukriti. So all these individuals who come to devotional service, especially who come to the camp of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are all exceptional personalities and should never be criticized or condemned or judged. There's no need for any of that. They're all loved by the Lord and they're all exceptional because they've come through many births. And now, with their discriminating intelligence, they've taken shelter of the devotees. This is to be celebrated and supported in every single instance, not condemned. Very often, we spend a lot of effort distributing books, and then someone comes, and then we begin to cultivate them. Then actually they take to devotional service, and then they start performing devotional service. And then sometimes the devotees begin to criticize them. This is greatly unfortunate that we should see through this lens of judgmental behavior. So we always want to improve our devotion, and sometimes by that, those judgments, etc., this is helping the devotee to improve, perhaps. But if it's envious judgment, if it's envious condemnation, then it's very, very sinful and should be condemned, which is the first offense in the chanting of the holy name, to blaspheme the devotees of the Lord who have dedicated their lives for following this path. It's the first offense to the holy name. So we must be very cautious and not mess up our opportunity to actually progress in devotional service by committing offenses to anybody. One time, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj was asked, what happens if someone is like very new and doing, no, he was talking about, what about the general low sinful people of the world, the conditioned souls? Should we condemn them or criticize them? And he responded, Jivera Surup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the same thing. Everyone is a Vaishnava. Some know it and some don't know it. Some recognize their Vaishnavata, their nature as a Vaishnava, and act as Vaishnavas. And others don't recognize it. So neither should be condemned. This is most unhealthy to judge and condemn anybody. And if we get in the habit of this whole material world that we live in, it's described as crackling with envy. Everyone is envious of another. They all want a bigger house than the person next door. They all want a bigger car, this and this, so many things that they're envious of in the material world. So this envy is all pervasive. And if the devotees get contaminated by this all pervasive judgmental character, nature, qualities, then he's submitting to the Mayic influence. Without a doubt, there's no need for it. We hear the beautiful pastime of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and he is renowned for never uttering a single word or even hearing a word of criticism about the devotees. So we are following this path.
So, in regards to non-devotees, and we know the truth that they display demoniac activities and
They're ignorant.
ignorant, but
It's
they're
like an
still
animal.
devotees.
An animal is ignorant. We don't beat an animal because he's ignorant. If we can
But we
enlighten them,
criticize them.
there's no need to criticize them. We just need to enlighten them. The
Yeah.
criticism won't make any sense.
For example, Dan Andrews. We know,
Yeah, yeah. Different people.
but
Better
we
not to criticize
but
anybody.
out of habit we criticize him.
But
But
if
it's
we
all
but understand the real dynamic,
yeah,
if we criticize anybody, it's like we're throwing water on an electric circuit. That water will be connected with the person who's throwing it, and the electric current and shock will come back to the person who's criticizing. You
yeah,
understand?
that's the truth.
There is no truth in criticizing. There's no purpose to criticizing. There's no objective to criticizing unless someone is asking for our opinions. There's no profit. What benefit is it to criticize someone who is very sinful? How is it going to increase your bhakti? It's only going to bring your mind down because you're condemning someone. There's no need for it. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he said beautifully, he said, we point the finger at someone and there's three fingers pointing back at us. Just condemn ourselves. Look for the fault within ourselves, and we can probably find millions of them. Better to look in that direction than to spend our time even, condemning others. Other people will condemn someone who is very sinful. We don't have to be involved. Better we stay separate. This is the principle to follow. This is the principle that we hope to be strong enough to hold on to. We all, I think, are prone to falling down in this area. We do condemn each other, but we should know what is the um, directive from Scripture. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help up. And we take examples from the great saints in our line who would not condemn anybody for any reason
Mm.
except to try and encourage their bhakti as much as possible, like an animal. If someone is very sinful, then what is the point to
But someone
criticize them?
that Andrews we criticize him, and we cannot help him because
So just leave it.
we don't.
So leave it. So leave it.
Yeah,
So don't even think about it.
yeah.
Leave it.
So,
It gets boring. Um, After accumulating such sukriti for many births, it becomes concentrated enough to give faith in pure bhakti. And when faith in bhakti is undivided, one develops a desire to associate with Shuddha Bhaktas. By association, one gradually becomes engaged in performing sadhan and bhajan, and this leads to the removal of anarthas in proportion to the purity of chanting. When anarthas are removed, the previous faith is purified further to become nishta, firm faith. He's going through the 7, 8 stages to prem here. So nishta, firm faith. This firm faith is also purified to become ruchi, spiritual taste. And by the Sundarya beauty of bhakti, this ruchi is strengthened and takes the form of asakti, transcendental attachment. Transcendental attachment matures into rati or bhav. When rati combines with the appropriate ingredients, it becomes rasa. This is the step by step progression in the development of Krishna Prem. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Babaji is opening this out in a very systematic way here to Brajanath. The principal idea is that when people with sufficient sukriti have darshan of Shuddha Bhaktas, they develop an inclination to proceed on the path of bhakti. One associates with a Shuddha Bhakta by chance, and this leads to initial shraddha, whereupon he gets the association of the bhaktas a second time. The result of the first association is shraddha, which can also be termed surrender, sharanagati. The initial sadhusanga is brought about by contact with holy places, auspicious times, and paraphernalia, and recipients of Sri Hari's grace, all of which are beloved by him. So these objects that are related to Sri Hari, if we come in contact with these objects, then this is going to also give us this bhakti pada sukriti, which is the topic we're talking about. These lead to faith in his shelter. The symptoms of the development of such faith are described in Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarvadharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Aham tam svave papabhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Just give up all these material dharmas and surrender unto me. Here the words sarvadharmam imply worldly duties, smarta dharma, astanga yoga, sankhya yoga, gyan, and renunciation. The jiva can never achieve his ultimate spiritual goal by practicing all these dharmas, which is why the instruction here is to give them up. Sri Krishna says, my form of pure condensed Satchit Ananda, appearing as Vrajavilas, the performer of wonderful pastimes in Braj, is the only shelter for the jivas. One who understands this and gives up all desire for bhakti, for bhukti, gives up all desire for bhukti, material sense enjoyment, and mukti, impersonal liberation, and with undivided attention takes shelter of me. This is known as pravritti rupa shraddha, the exclusive tendency to engage in Krishna's service. When such faith dawns in the jiva's heart, with tears in his eyes, he resolves to become a follower of a Vaishnava sadhu. The Vaishnava of whom he takes shelter at that point is the Guru. So this is the process. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has just taken us through this process in the last couple of pages here, describing what is Bhakti Pada Sukriti, how to attain that. Brajanath, how many types of anarthas does a jiva have? Babaji, there are 4 types of anarthas. 1. Swarup Brahm, being in illusion about one's spiritual identity. 2. Asat Trishna, thirst for temporary material enjoyment. 3. Aparad, offenses. 4. Hriday Dubalya, weakness of the heart. Rastamanjari, she will put a document with these very clearly um, written so that we can refresh regularly. These are like the potholes that we have to navigate around. If we once we know the dangers, then we can circumvent them. We can avoid them. The jiva's first anartha, namely Swarup Brahm, occurs when he forgets the understanding that I, the pure spiritual spark, am Krishna's servant. We've said this many times. To appreciate, we were saying yesterday about the Virat Rupa. The Virat Rupa is an opportunity to realize my insignificance in comparison to Krishna's completeness, and is carried far away from his original spiritual position. When the jiva considers that he and his dead material possessions are I and mine, he develops 3 types of asat trishna. These are the desires for a son, for wealth, and for celestial pleasures. There are 10 types of aparad, which I will discuss later. The jiva is grief-stricken because of hriday dubalya. These 4 types of anarthas are the naishkika phal, the fruit of nishag, or the acquired nature of the jiva, who has been caught by ignorance, and they are removed gradually by cultivating Krishna consciousness in the association of Shuddha Bhaktas. Remember this word nishag we discussed in the very beginning, this acquired nature, and the example was given of ice. Very beautiful graphic example that the ice's swabhav, pure nature, is liquid, but when it comes in contact with a freezing place, it changes its constitution and becomes rock hard, ice. And if you ask that piece of ice what is its constitution, he will say, I am hard. But actually, he's not hard, he's in illusion. His real identity is to be liquid. And once a warm current comes and that rock of ice goes back into its liquid form, again he comes back to his form. So that warm current of Krishna consciousness will melt the conditioned idea that I am this material body and will reawaken our pure spiritual identity, will reawaken our pure spiritual consciousness that I am soul beyond the gross and subtle bodies. The fourfold path of yoga consists of withdrawal from sense objects, pratyahara, self control, yama, following various rules and regulations, niyama, and renunciation, vairagya. This process is not the proper means to free oneself from material anxiety, for it is difficult to attain, for it is difficult to attain perfection, and there is always a strong risk of falling down. The only way to become free from all anxiety, because this was the question that Brajanath asked at the very beginning here, the only way to become free from all anxiety is to cultivate pure Krishna consciousness in the association of Shuddha Bhaktas. It's not by separately trying to perform vairagya or self control or pratyahara, etc. And this is the heart of the essay that we sent on our WhatsApp yesterday from Venugit, where there's the misconception that I have to become purified first before I can hear these beautiful topics about Krishna in Vrindavan. I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified. I don't have the adhikar. I don't, if I keep saying I don't have the adhikar, then I'm thinking I have to myself manifest the adhikar. Then I go off and perform some renunciation, some austerity, imagining that I'm actually working towards getting the adhikar to hear Krishna's pastimes. But my Gurudev explaining very clearly in that essay, it's a very important essay, that first we hear about Krishna. First we hear about the beautiful Vrindavan pastimes. And the hearing of that is sufficient to purify the darkness of these anartas. But unless we have the goal first, then which is Braja Prem, why should we be inspired to practice it? Understand this carefully. I hope everyone will read that Venogit essay that's on our WhatsApp thread there. It's very, very important. Thus, the jiva is freed from Maya's stranglehold, and his constitutional position is revealed to the extent that anartas have been removed from his heart. So, this is the process to remove these. First, we have to know about the anartas, but it's not that we should focus on the anartas. I've said previously, one time I asked my Gurudev, we were walking on a morning walk and the sun was just rising, I can remember very clearly. And one devotee, he said to him, should we think of our anartas while we're chanting? Should we be contemplating my deficiencies while I'm chanting? And my Gurudev was very um, uh, energetic. He jumped. He said, never. If you think of anartas while you're chanting, more anartas will come to you. You'll just go into a dark abyss of your previous births, which are unlimited, and the amounts of darkness there are just useless to contemplate. What is the value in contemplating what the value is in contemplating Krishna's beauty and sweetness and the Vrindavan pastimes. And it's like a ghost. If someone is haunted by a ghost, what is the solution for that? First of all, he has to know that he's haunted by a ghost. That's the first solution. And then the second way to actually get rid of the ghost is completely to ignore him. Completely to ignore him. Don't listen to anything the ghost is saying. You know the ghost is there. You know a ghost is a very sad person. Ghosts are real. You see so many people haunted today because, suicides and things like that. And the ghosts are just there without bodies, and they will inhabit another body to get some type of pleasure. So the ghost will inhabit the body. But if that person just completely ignores the ghost, what happens? The ghost will go away very quickly.
So any type of material desire, it's like a ghost.
You can say like that. Yeah, yeah. Rajanath, can people with no trace of anartas be termed liberated people? Babaji, please consider the following shlokas. Rajobhir sama sankyatya parvare paratibhya iha janta va tesham ye kechan chante shreya vai manu jadaya prayo mamushshavas tesham kechanaiva divyotama. Mumukshunam sahasreshu kishchin muchayata siddhyati muktanandam muktanandam apisidanam narayanam paraiha sudurlabha prashantama kochish api mahamune from Srimad Bhagavatam 6:14, 3 to 5. Hey Bhagavan, there are as many jivas in this material world as there are grains of sand. Amazing. How many grains of sand are there on the beach? Unlimited. There are as many jivas as there are grains of sand. Only a few of these are human beings, amongst whom only a few direct their efforts in search of a higher goal. Of those who are endeavoring for a higher goal, only a few rare individuals seek liberation from this world. And out of thousands of such people, hardly one is actually able to achieve siddha, perfection, or mukti, liberation. Out of millions of perfected, liberated souls, it is difficult to find a single, peaceful, great soul who is fully dedicated to the seva of Sri Narayan. Therefore, Narayan's bhaktas are very rare. So, this is like I said, not to criticize any person who comes to this path very, very carefully. This will cripple our bhakti lata bij. These weeds of criticism will strangle us. A person free from all anarthas is known as a Shuddha Bhakta. Such bhaktas are very rare indeed. Even among millions of muktas, one can hardly find a single bhakta of Sri Krishna. Therefore, no association in this world is more rare than the association of Krishna's bhaktas. Of course, we know there are degrees. There's Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam. And those degrees were mentioned in the uh, 8th chapter, and we discussed that at length in that area. But none of these stages should be criticized. This will strangle our bhakti. Brajanath, does the word Vaishnava imply a bhakta who has renounced family life? Okay, so Brajanath is thinking about this. We know the pastime here, that his family is pressuring him to get married, so he's asking this question. Babaji, a Shuddha Bhakta is a Vaishnava, whether he is a Grihastha household or a sannyasi renunciant, a Brahmana or a Chandala, a dog eater, rich or poor. A devotee is a Krishna Bhakta to the degree that he has Shuddha Krishna Bhakti, pure devotion for Krishna. Very clear. A Bhakta is someone who has pure devotion for Krishna, regardless of their caste, etc. Brajanath, you have already said that there are 5 types of jivas in Maya's stronghold, and you have also said that bhaktas performing sadhan bhakti and bhav bhakti are under Maya's control. At what stage are bhaktas Maya mukta? Are bhaktas Maya mukta, liberated from Maya? So we'll stop here and we'll conclude this on Monday. We'll finish this chapter on Monday. So very beautiful questions. Principally, this Bhakti Pada Sukriti. How to attain Bhakti Pada Sukriti is by associating with Vaishnavas and Sadhus and objects that are used in Krishna's worship, and days like Ekadashi, Janmastami, associating with the holy dhams, coming under the guidance of higher um, devotees, Shuddha Bhakti, this mood of Sharanagat. I've said before many times this verse. What's that? Uh, um, Swajatya. Swajatya means we look for the association of those similar minded souls. They want, for example, Manjari Bhav. These are similar devotees. Swajatya, same caste. And Snigdha, they are affectionate. And Ashraya, we consider them more senior. This is the best association we can. Huh? Senior. Ashraya. Swajatya, Snigdha. Snigdha means affectionate. 3 qualities of association. Svajatya means the same group, the same mood. Yes, he wants Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gifts. He's hungry for Braja Prem. This is the same caste, so to speak. And then those devotees who are affectionate towards us. Not everyone is going to be affectionate towards us. Why should they be? Why should I be affectionate towards all the devotees to the same degree? Some devotees, there will be an instant sort of connection, and others there won't. That's nature. And so those that we feel affectionate for, Snigdha, and those that we feel are senior, this is the best type of association that Rupa Goswami says. Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Papnibhyo, Vaishnave Namo Namaha. Vaishnavas ki jai.